Welcome back, y'all. So we just finished the idea that Russia's developed almost like in their own little enclave, if you will. Now we're going to start seeing the beginnings of the Russia beginning of modernization, and they're going to be modernization, and we're going to see each step. First, what we're going to see is Ivan the Terrible. Ivan the Terrible, or Ivan the Fourth, was a very powerful leader. From understanding, he may be in the first one to call himself the Tsar, Tsar, and that word Tsar or Caesar, really, he believes he is going to be the king of the center of the world. And Ivan, there's a lot of information we could talk about him. The reason they called him Ivan the Terrible or Ivan the Dread is he was a brutal man, a brutal man. And despite being brutal, he reestablished Muscovy, what we call Muscovy, Russia. So please make sure you have Muscovy. Muscovy means Moscow. In 1999, there was only 18% of the kids who got a question right because they had no idea what Muscovy was. Muscovy is Moscow's Russia. It's the modern Russia in which Moscow is the capital. And Ivan the Terrible kind of reestablished that. He began to gain more power over the boyars, which we're going to talk a little bit about the boyars here. The boyars are the Russian nobles. He used force and even terrorism, if you will, terror to enforce that. But unfortunately, as he was getting older, his love of his life wife dropped dead, and when she died, he kind of went mad, and he kind of went crazy, isolated himself, and then a little bit later, they thought that he probably had arthritis. And the reason they draw and they've recently in the last 20 years or so, they dug up his body and they kind of looked at it and they do see evidence of arthritis. And the reason that's important is because the treatment during this time period was drinking mercury. So Ivan the Terrible was depressed. He was having some issues. He was having a little bit of arthritis. So he was now drinking mercury, which actually literally makes you go crazy. I'm not sure exactly how specific. I've never done a deep dive in that Russian history, but it does. I've heard it from a couple of sources there. And again, he took the name Czar. Everything seemed really good. When I look at this, he's over here. He's expanding Russia. He's expanding trade as well. He's doing a really great job at advancing Russia. But unfortunately, he at the height of his insanity, he felt that his son was about to have a rebellion, and he actually killed his own son. By killing his own son, his dynasty came to an end, and when he died, the boyars or the Russian nobles were really excited. We call this the time of troubles because the boyars, without a powerful czar when Ivan died, they sought to decentralize. They wanted to go back to that traditional medieval world where the boyars had all the power. They dominated their serfs, and serfdom is really going to be an important thing in Russia all the way to the 19th century. And it's really about the boyars. But unfortunately, with the time of troubles, Russia began to become a power vacuum. And they didn't want the Mongolians to come back. The Mongols had taken them over earlier. So now what do? Well, this is when you have Michael Romanov. Michael Romanov established the Romanov dynasty. It's going to be the dynasty that really rules Russia from here on out, from now, 1500s, all the way to 1917. So the Romanov dynasty, make sure, I think I've said it enough. What dynasty? Romanov dynasty. And he reestablished Muscovy, Russia. So Michael Romanov now is now in power. He's restabilizing, and they're able now to move forward as a centralized state, but the boyars still have a lot of power. We'll see how they manage that. Here's a painting of what Michael Romanov looked like. And that's where we're going to pause this portion. So we just kind of looked at some early czars. So you should be able to identify Ivan the Terrible. You should identify Time of Troubles and Michael Romanov. And of course, you need to know the boyars. I hope that makes sense. I'm going to pause here.